Hey friend, it's Duc. In this training, I would love to share with you how to build the Twitter app. Yeah, the Twitter app that you connect your app directly into Twitter, and you can search for new tweets. You can search for a single user, or you can search for any hashtags that you have. So here is how the app will looks like on the simulator. So we have a tweet, the newsfeed looks exactly like Twitter, beautiful, and we can search for new tweets. So for example, if I search for interior design like this, if I search for interior design, we have a bunch of new tweets coming out, and you can scroll down, you see some posts has beautiful images, some posts doesn't have ones. That is how the app will looks like after we finish this training. Now, you're going to learn a lot about how to deal with UI and table view. You're going to deal with iOS networking, about REST API, about JSON, about third-party libraries, all of those stuff we'll talk about in this training, and we'll design beautiful UI for the Twitter client, the Twitter app. So the first step, what we love to do right now is goes into the description and download your starter project. So I prepare for you the starter project with all the resources, all the libraries, all the frameworks, and some UI elements, things like icons, images. So all you have to do is click the link on this page right in the description. Then you go into my website over here and click into the page. You just have to leave your name and email there, so I can send you directly to your email the starter project and the complete project, all the resources, the icons, the images, all the frameworks and the libraries. And there, I would love to give you one extra thing, and that is I have a new training coming up, and that is what we're calling how to build Nike e-commerce retail store without losing $50,000. Now, if you know the Nike e-commerce, it's one of the world's most popular e-commerce app, and it's just like Amazon or Facebook Marketplace, something that you can post some new products and sell it online. So that is what we'll talk about in that training. Usually it took people a few dozen thousands of dollars to build that. I'm going to share with you how to build that without virtually no cost at all. All you have to do is go into the description, leave your name, email there, and I will send you all of those training. So let's go ahead, download that now. Alright my friend, open up your starter project. Here we go. Now the way that you can download this starter project is all you have to do is click the link right below this page. There will be a link for you, something like this, and you'll see goes to a page like that. You see the app that we're going to build together, and we have the download for your Twitter training. And then just click here, put in your first name and your email, and I'm happy to send that for you all for free. There's nothing here. It's just that I need your email so that I can send you that. And also, there's a special how to build Nike e-commerce store training that I'm going to give you. So I'm stoked about it. So just go ahead, download the starter project, and let's get started. Here we go. And let me change the font size a little bit so that we can have it. So let's open the starter project. Now the way that you do that is not open up your Twitter tweeties.xcode project like this, but open the XC workspace. Let me explain why it is the case that you have to open the XC workspace. Here we go. So inside here, you will see that inside there will be a frameworks folder, and it says Twitter.framework. What it all means is that it has some code that we already write for you so that you can use that in your project. And you see this is the Twitter folder over here, and you click into that, there will be another Xcode project inside here. And if I open up this Xcode project like this, and you will find out that there's just a bunch of code in here. You see that? Alright, now you don't really need to explore this stuff. I will explain to you as we use some of these things. It's just some of the classes, some of the helper methods that an instructor from a class very famous called CS193P from Stanford University, he wrote this code so that his students can use to create Twitter apps. So I'm going to use that. Huge thanks to him. here we go. Let's open up Xcode, and then I'm going to the main.storyboard, and we will design our Twitter app over here. And by the way, this is how the app looks like. Let me open up an example of the app. Actually, over here, right? You see this? So we have the search bar and then a bunch of cells. Now, if you look at the cells, I know this is a GIF, so it will change this. So the cells are here. Maybe this is the Twitter app over here. We have the thumbnail of our client, of the user, and then we have the username of the user, and then the handle, and the minutes that the user posted, and then the body text, and then image if the post has some image, and some buttons over here. So let's create this stuff. Here we go. I'm going over main.storyboard, and because this is a TabView controller, right? But you notice that it also has the navigation bar below here. That means that we need a TabBarController. So let me drag out a TabBarController to the screen like this. And then also, don't forget that we need to make this TabBarController to be our initial view controller. And then let's delete these two view controller that we don't need here, right? Then, because we have 4 tabs, so just in case we need those, oh, we have 5. So let's drag out 5 navigation controller here, because this navigation controller also have the table view controller. Let me make some space. So we have the navigation controller and the table view controller right here. That's 1. Right, so this is 1. Let me put that up here, make some room, and then I'm going to duplicate this guy. That's 2. Let's have here, duplicate that guy. That's 3. Come on. So that's 4. All right, we have 4 now. The last one. Let's have the last one here. And that's 5. I know it's kind of manual, but that's the way that we do it. So next thing is we'll connect all of these view controllers, these navigation controller, to the TabBarController. So I'm going to right click and drag it to the navigation controller, make this thing the relationship segue is view controllers, so that this thing has a view controller segue to our TabBarController. And let's do the same thing for this guy, this guy, this guy, and finally this guy. Like this, right? Pretty cool. Okay, now let's zoom in like this, and then we'll change the icons for our app. So the way that you do it is just click over here, click each of the icon like this. So if you look at the complete app over here, let me open it like this. So you have the home, the moments, notifications, messages, and the me. So let's open that up. Okay, let me do it like this. Maybe easier for you to see, right? So the home, let's click over here. We have the image is, I really believe that is icon home. Oh, icon timelines, like that. And then we have the title is home, like this, right? Oh, it's not home. Good. Next, let's have this guy, the icon moment. This is moment. And below here we have this guy. It is notification. So icon notification. The title is notifications. Next, messages and profile. So over here, messages, icon, messages, and lastly over here, icon, me, and me. I don't know why they name it that way, but it's just the way they work. Now let's run the project and see how it looks like from our initial view controllers like that. Oh, it's built failed. What is this over here? Now in that case, you see that it says like something, I just missed that error message, but what it says is that the Twitter.framework here, Xcode cannot find it. So all you have to do now is goes over your project like this, open up the Twitter folder, And then you see the Twitter, the Xcode project, right? So all you have to do is drag this thing out to your project navigator. But notice that don't drag it inside the 3D target. Drag it outside of it like this. Here we go. See that? It's outside. And then we put it right there. So we have two things like this. Cool? So now let me run the project and see how it looks like. Here we go. Its build succeeded. That's cool. And then we have this thing. Pretty nice, huh? Alright. So that's a good side. That's a good side. Here we go. The next step, let's move on to the next step, is we'll design our home screen, the newsfeed, the timelines is what Twitter says, and we'll focus the main training on this guy. So let's go ahead into the main storyboard and we'll close the project. And then let us put over here, we have this guy over there. So now the first step you see is the image over here. The newsfeed has the search bar, but this search bar, what you can do is you can really drag out a search bar from the object palettes like this into the screen. But what we'll actually do is I will programmatically program the search bar on top of our view controller in just a moment. After we implement everything, and we'll implement this search bar in our code. Then let's do our newsfeed over here. Each of the cells for the table view. So number one, we need this to be bigger, right? The cell needs to be bigger. So let's drag out the cells down like this. Now, because I already designed my project when I make this app, so I'm going to make sure that all the size fits so that we save us some time. The table view cell row height, I'm going to put that as 333 points like this. And then let's drag out the project, the profile image of the user. So we have the profile image over here, something like this. So let's drag that out. The image view, let's drag an image view like this, and then we'll make sure that this image view, it is 8 to the top and 8 to the left. The width and height is 48. So x is 8, y is 8, width is 48, and height is 48, like this. Next thing, let's have our the content mode of this image to be aspect fill. Cool. Then let's drag out a label. We'll need a label for our Twitter full name over here, and let me double click and have this guy Twitter full name. Awesome. Now let's change the font of this Twitter full name, because we know that it will be kind of like bold and a little bit bigger than it should be, right over here. So this Twitter full name over there, let's click over here. Now the system, it is using the system font, and I actually don't want to use the system font. I want to use the text styles over here. Now this text styles, this is actually the system font, but it will changes the font size and the boldness and all of those things according to what the user set in the accessibility settings. So it means that if the user uses like bigger font, then the text of your app, it will just automatically scale up. So here, I'm going to use this guy because it is the Twitter full name and it is bold. So let's use that as the headline. Text style is headline like this, and it's squeezed down. So I'm going to hold Command key, click the tap the equal button. So hold Command and equal so that it will open up full scale like that. Cool. All right. Next up, let's drag out another label for the handle like that, and then the temp. So the handle, let's do add handle. Right, so we'll put it over here and change the font of this guy. Now the font of this guy is really small, and so we are going to use something like the caption font. So instead of system, we use the caption one. Done. You see this? The handle. Again, I'm going to command equal, and we have the handle like this. Cool. All right, that's pretty good, right? Next up, let's duplicate this handle. I'm going to duplicate that, and we'll have the hour, right? So over here now, because we need the kind of like the dot over there, you see that this dot over here, see this? So we need that dot. So now I'm going to hold the Option key and click the 8 key. So Option 8 will give you that dot, and then 2 hours, something like this. Now, why do I know that? It's just Google. That's as long it is, right? And then let me put that as just 4. Yeah, 4 looks good. Awesome. Next up, let's put out another label. I know I'm going a little bit fast here, but it's pretty much that is all we do. So you can pause the video if you want it slower. So here, the label, let's put out like the text of the body that can span around 3 lines of text because it only has 140 characters, like that. You see? Now, because Twitter, if you know about a tweet can only span around 140 characters. So why, as it has only 140 characters, why don't we just show all of those things, right? So I'm going to make the lines here into 3 lines, drag that thing down like this. And to make sure that we have everything set up, let me change this guy, the height of this guy, to be something like 64.5. Like this, 64.5, just because I designed it already, so I know what is the ratio, that's all. As we do it by yourself, then you just do auto layout and then we will have that set up. Okay. Lastly, let's have, nearly lastly, we have the image. This here, I don't think we have the image over here. It has so many frames because this is a GIF. So let me drag that thing out. Oh, here we go. We have the image. See this? And this is better. We have the image for the tweet. So let's drag out that image. And the ratio of that image, the X position is 0. The Y position is 101. Oh, it's over here actually. And then the width is 303 points. The height is 170 points. All right, that looks good. And it's actually 8 to this guy. Now, why do I have this kind of like ruler tool? Well, I just have to click into one thing, click into like one element, hold the Option key, and you will see this guy. See this? The ruler. Very convenient tool in Xcode. Next up, let's have the 3 buttons for the retweet. This is wait a minute. I don't use Twitter that much, but I think this is reply or something. This is retweet and this is like, right? So we have the buttons. So button. Drag out the first button over here and goes into the attribute inspector like this. Let's change the image into icon. I think that is like reply. Yeah, icon reply. And then instead of the button, we'll put that as just like 12 people reply to this guy. And then the text color, let's change the text color into something like dark gray color. Oh no, this is light gray color. Yeah, light gray color. Looks good. Cool. Now actually I have this color from Twitter here. This is the Twitter guideline. So we are going to use this code. Okay, so still select that, select the text color, and we'll change the hex color into this guy. The way that you have the hex color is you goes into the second tab, the RGB slider, and you have the hex color number like this. Pretty cool, huh? And then I'm going to change the system font instead of the system into the caption one. Like that, and done. Okay, and then comment equal so that it looks good. Boom. Okay. Now don't worry, this thing is really small right now. We'll change that in just a moment. We change it so that we make sure that it looks good. And actually, let me put that instead of 12 here into space 12, so it has a little bit space. Cool. Now let's duplicate this guy and have another one over here, and instead of the icon reply, into icon retweet, right? And then comment equal, and then duplicate again, so that we have the last one over here into, instead of icon retweet, into icon heart. Alright, so 3 buttons is that easy, my friend, and that is the UI for our timeline. Alright, now looking at our complete project, you see that these beautiful UI in the cells, it laid out correctly, it laid out beautifully. That is what we get from auto layout. So I would love to give you a little code challenge, that is apply auto layout constraints into your table view cell. So do it now, give it a good solid 15 or 20 minutes. Do it now and then come back with me, check with me, we'll do it together. But pause the video, pause this workshop and do it now. Apply all the auto layout into your constraints, into your cells right now. Do it. Alright, my friend, did you do it? Did you apply auto layout constraints on these elements that I asked you to do in the minutes ago? I know it's just like 30 seconds in the video, but you know, in real life you can pause it, right? So if you haven't done it, please pause this thing, do it by your own, and then come back with me, we'll check it together, and maybe I can share one thing or two about doing this, but you have to do the work in order to make it sink in, not just like doing along with me. So do it now, and then we'll do it together. Cool? So I assume that you already do it. So here we go. I'm going to have this image, a simple constraint, uncheck constraint to margin, 8 width and height, that simple. Alright, cool. Next thing is, because I noticed that these three, it's pretty much aligned horizontally like that. And there's a tool in iOS called Stack View that allow us to stack together a bunch of elements so that it will be aligned horizontally or vertically. So the way that we do that is select all of these 3 elements, stack them together by clicking this little button over here, this little button, see this? Click that over here, and it's stacked together like this. Pretty cool. And then, in the spacing, I'm going to change that into 8. Like this. Yeah, looks good, isn't it? Okay. Oops, did I mess up? Yeah, I messed up. Here we go. Next, let's have you know what, the art of stack view is you start from like the minimum stack elements. So here what I mean by that, you notice that a bunch of these things, if you put this thing into a stack, this thing you imagine another one, this another one, and you see these 3 buttons, oops, these 3 buttons, you see these 3 buttons, it's also horizontally aligned. So what you can do is also stack these 3 buttons together. So I'm going to click here and stack those together too. Don't worry about like the it's pushed again together now, because we'll change that in just a minute. You see that? Now let's talk about it. We have a stack view over here. This is a stack view, and then the text, this guy and this guy, and you notice that this guy is like 1 line, this is just like 1 line, and this also is like another line, and this too is another line, right? So again, we can also stack these together. So let me click select the we have now the image, the first stack view, the text of the body, right? Select that in the document outline, hold the command key, and then the image view, this guy, and the stack view of these 3 buttons. We select that. Wait a minute, I think that we need the image view. Do we need the image view? Let's just leave it there and we'll do it together, okay? So I'm going to select all these 4, stack them together like this. Okay, like that. Now, this is really messed up right now because we have this label way outside and we have a bunch of these things, right? So the problem is this stack view, it's also just like pretty much another rectangle in your UI. It's not like UI view, because UI view you can draw it, you can do a bunch of other stuff in here. Stack view you cannot draw it or do anything like that matter. But you can apply auto layout constraint on the stack view. So what you can do is select this stack view, not this one but this one, okay? So the big one that you put together, you can pin that to the edges. So we have 8 to the top, that's good. 8 to the left, which is our image view, that's good, right? Image view, click over here, and then instead of negative 422, which is this label way outside here, we do the 8. And then 8 to the bottom of the content view of the cell. And then add the for constraint, and voila! You see that? Pretty cool, isn't it? Nice. Then let me put this guy, the spacing here, into 8. Like this. Looks much better, isn't it? Awesome. Now, the next thing we want to do is this image over here, the image over here, we want to make sure that the size is sized correctly. To do that, I'm going to apply another constraint to this image view, and I'm going to use the ratio constraint. So hold the control key, drag it to the left like this, and we have the aspect ratio. Click into that, and we have the ratio. Looks good. Alright, last thing. The image view here, let's have this into aspect fill, so it looks good. And finally, you see the stack view over here, the stack view of the buttons, right? We want to make sure that it will also align correctly, so I'm going to pin this thing to the edges of our bigger stack view. So, into here, 0 to the left, 0 to the right, and 0 to the bottom. Add the 3 constraints, and it looks like this. And then you see that this button is bigger than the other two. The way we can have that is we have the distribution, I think, yeah, distribution here fill equally, so it looks nice like that. Cool. Now, but you look at, so again, I'm going to pin the button of this stack view to the bigger stack view, and then change the distribution into fill equally, so that it has 3 buttons big, all equally spaced all around like this. But now you look at the buttons over here. This thing is to the left, this thing is the middle, and this thing is to the right. But ours is just like all centered aligned. How can we fix this? Well, pretty simple. We just click into this guy, and we have the control of the attribute inspector. We can make that to the left of the retweet. This guy is center, that's good, and this guy to the right of the horizontal, right? Cool. So that is that, my friend. All we need for our what is that? For our app, for the timelines. So let's go ahead into the code and let's code our project. By the way, let's run the project and make sure that everything is still working all right. So let's run it. Here we go. Where's the simulator? Here we go. So everything is good. We have this is bigger because yeah, this is bigger. Right? Okay. Now we get our UI done. Let's move on into creating a table view controller, and we'll fetch new tweets directly into that table view controller. We'll test that out by printing out new tweets into the console, and then we'll move on into putting those tweets into the beautiful table view. Let's do that. Over your controllers group, I'm going to right click and have a new file. So this file, let's have this as a Swift file. And then the save as, let's name that guy as tweet table view controller. And you notice this is plural. So tweet table view controller, and create that file over here. Cool. So let's import UI kits because we need UI kits. And then I'm going to import, let's create a class called tweet table view controller. And guess what is the superclass? UI table view controller. That's right, because this thing is a table view controller, right? Tweet table view controller. Before we forgot that, let's go ahead into the main storyboard, change the custom class of this into tweet table view controller. Okay. Next up, let's have some tweet, right? So in order to have some tweet, I'm going to import our little framework. Import tweet over here, Twitter, like this. So over here, let's have a private variable called tweet. Now, what is the data type of a tweet can be? Well, we know that we have a class in the framework called tweet. So that is the type. But because this is tweet. So a timeline of tweet. That's why we want to make it as an array of tweets, right? So an array of tweets like this. But notice, because we are going to fetch tweets in real time into the timeline, that means that we can have like right now, so the first time I fetch it, we can have like 12 tweets, right? But then notice that if new tweets coming out, we can have like another 18 tweets. So do you want to have these 12 tweets replaced by these 18 tweets? Or do you have to, again, like append these 18 tweets into this array? That could be a mess, right? So how can we fix this? Well, the way that we fix this is we make this tweet into an array of arrays of tweets. Again, we will make this tweet into an array of arrays of tweets. So the way that we do that is an array of arrays of tweets. So this is an array, right, of arrays of tweets. So that means that each of the tweet array over here will be a batch of tweets that we fetch from Twitter. You see that? And then every time we fetch new tweet, we just have to put in another batch over here and we reload the tail view. That's pretty neat, isn't it? I love that. I love that kind of data structure. Cool. Next up, let's have another variable called our search text, because we are going to search for tweet. So var search text like this. It is a string, and I'm going to make that optional because maybe that is nil. And the reason why I make this thing a public property is because we want someone else who uses this tweets TabView controller can be able to set this search text, right? Now, whenever someone did set our search text, that can be the user typing in some text inside your search bar, or someone else goes segue into this tweets TabView controller and search for some text, search for some tweet, right? We want to what? We want to reload the tail view, and then also we want to search for tweet, right? So we want to search for tweet, and before we search for tweet, we want to remove all the tweets. Remove all the tweet, and then I want to the tail view dot reload the data. So number one, we remove all the tweets, we reload the data, and we search for tweets. Cool. So whenever this search tag is set, we do all these three things. Now let's implement our search for the function search for tweets like this. Now, because this is a function and it is searching for tweet, I don't want anyone to just randomly call the search for tweet function. So let's make that thing a private method, the search for tweet. Cool. Now, before we implement this thing, let's have a view.load like this, view.load and super.view.load. And then let's, for example, I search text, I set that into my Twitter handle name, into something like this, Duc Tran. This is my full name actually. So you have the Twitter handle that we want to search for the text, right? So it's just by default we set it that way. Now let's make a Twitter request so that we can search for some tweets. So the way that we can have some Twitter requests is let's have a function Twitter request, and this is a method that will return for us a request like this, and it is optional because it can be optional. So inside here, I want to make if let the query text to be the search text. We check if this search text is available, and then we make sure that the query text here is not an empty string. So the query text is empty, like this, right? And it is not empty. So if let this thing is what? yeah, this thing is not nil and this thing is not empty, then here we're going to return a request with the search is a string with a count here. So the search here, we put in the query text. The count, we put that by default 100 tweet, and we return that. But if this thing is nil and this thing is empty, then I will just return nil. Okay. Now, where is that request? Is that like a URL request or any of that stuff? Well, actually not, because if you hold the command key, click into this request, and you find out that this request is a class from your Twitter framework and has a bunch of these things here. Don't worry, you don't need to use any of that stuff to fetch tweets. All you need to know is that it is a request to search for some tweets. Okay, now let's implement our search for tweet over here. So the search for tweet, if that's the request, is our Twitter request. So we're calling this Twitter request. And also this Twitter request, let me make that a private function so that no one else can call that randomly. Cool. Now if we do got the request, let's do request dot fetch some tweets. So we fetch some tweet and then press enter, so we have the closure to handle a bunch of new tweets like this. Now inside this closure, we have a bunch of new tweets to handle. So we'll do stuff with that new tweet. Cool? Now, there's a problem here though. The problem is that we have every time we do it like this, right? Every time we search for new tweet, we are going to create a new Twitter request. You see that in the way that we do our code here? Every time that we create new tweets, we fetch for new tweets, we have to create a new Twitter request because we have a new search text. But then it might take some time to download some tweets. And maybe like if the first tweet request that I request is with the search text is like Steve Jobs, and then I wait for some time, but it doesn't fetch, right? It doesn't show up. So I want to search for something new. I want to search for something like Oprah, right? So we need some way to keep track of our Twitter request. Make sense? So the way that we do that is I'm going to have a private variable here called last Twitter request, and the type is request. You see that? Cool. And then every time that we have that over here, we're going to call self.lastTwitterRequest, or last Twitter request equals to the request, which is this request, so that we make sure that we keep track of the last tweet request. But then, if you build the project now, there's going to be a problem. The problem is, it says reference to property last Twitter request enclosure requires explicit self to make capture or semantics explicit. What the heck is that? Well, it all means is that we are calling the last Twitter request, which is a property, or it can be if you can call a method in here inside the implementation of a closure. And the closure, it requires you, it will capture this property, right, or the method. So it requires you to call self.lastTwitterRequest. It's just the language syntax. Now, there's another problem. The problem is this closure right here, it will create a memory cycle. Because the self-reference that we use in the closure, this self-reference over here, it will always keep this tweet's tail view controller alive. What it means is that, for example, inside our app over here, let me open up this guy, right? The first tab is the timeline, right? So when open up like this and we make some new tweet, this thing will always capture the tweet's tail view controller, and it will always it will always capture ourselves over here. So because of the memory cycle, because of the arc memory that in iOS it uses, so it always has a strong pointer to our tweet's tail view controller. That's why this view controller is always alive. But what if the user doesn't want to search for this anymore, or this view controller is like deleted, is tossed out of the navigation controller, because in this case it will not. But what if like you use this tweet's tail view controller just as some like search feature? You click into one button, you segue into another, to this tweet's tail view controller, and then you search for something, but then you discarded that out of the stack of the navigation controller. You know what I mean? Then if you do it like this, it will also always keep the tweet's tail view controller, because there's always this self pointer strongly points to the tweet's tail view controller, so that we have to make sure that this is a weak pointer. This self is a weak pointer, so that whenever this tweet's tail view controller is gone, the user doesn't want to use this search anymore, or it's just like deleted this view controller, it will not keep the tweet's tail view controller around. So the way that we do that is we make this weak self. You see that? I know there's a lot of explanation for just like 8 characters, but it's very important. And now this self here, it can be nil, so I'm going to make sure that it is self question mark. Pretty cool, huh? Okay. You know what? Actually, let me put this thing outside of the fetch tweet, because as soon as we have a new Twitter request, we will store that last tweet request. So we don't need this question mark, but we still need the weak self inside here, right? Now, inside here, let's make sure that we still get the request. So if the request equals to our self question mark dot last Twitter request, why do we have to check this? Why do I have to check this? Well, because maybe the user like delete this request already, doesn't want to search for new tweets, doesn't want to use this request, right? This is a new one, so we have to make sure that. So here, after that, we self.tweets, and then we insert new tweets, right? New tweets at the index is 0, so that new tweet always coming up on top. Cool. All right. Next, let's you know what? Let's print out our self.tweet like this. Let's print out our self.tweet to look and see if we do got some tweets. So let's run the app and see if we have some tweets in our console. This is moment of truth, my friend, and let's see how it looks like. Here we go, and it's running, and see this. Let's see the console. Ta-da! It has a bunch of things over here. It has mentioned some of the things over here. Let's see this. Yeah, this is some of the new tweets that I just sent out over here this morning. Let's see that. Okay, cool. So it means that we just have some new tweets. Awesome. Now, there's a problem with this though. Because what we want to do now is we want to reload our tail view, right? So we want to update the tail view using some animation, or we want to like put up the tweet into the tail view. So we can call something like self.table view, and I want to insert a new sections, insert sections at the index. So the sections here, we want to insert into section number 1 of the sections, with the animation is something like fade, so that it will fade out into the tail view. So new tweet will fade out like this. But there's a problem with this though. The problem is this fetch tweet, this closure right here, it's downloading some new tweet. That means that it is off the main queue. But what is the code over here? The code over here is self.tailView, right? It means that it is UI code. But in iOS multi-threading, the rule is all UI code has to happen on the main queue. So our job now is we need to go back to the main queue. So I'm going to self.dispatch queue, .main.async, and I'm going to cut this code, put that over here, and everything is handled. I know I just make a little bit dramatic, but there's a problem with that though, and then here's how you solve that. It's just, I hope that it makes at least fun for you. It's fun for me to do it that way. So I hope that you enjoyed it. You see that? So we go back to the main queue, because if you don't, you violate the rule. There will be like severe things happen to your code. Awesome. Let me make a mark over here. Let's mark called view controller life cycle, and then let's make another mark for our table view data source. All right, we got some tweets. That's like awesome news. Now our job is to put those tweets into the table view, right? So what we're going to do next is we are going to put up those tweets by implementing the UI table view data source. UI table view data source, we have 3 methods to implement. So let's get ahead and do it. Table view data source. So number 1, number of sections in table view, because we have some batches of tweets. So I'm going to return the tweets.count. So it depends on how many batches are there inside the tweets. Next, the table view number of rows in each of the sections. So return tweet at section.count. Right? So at that section of tweets, there will be the number of tweets inside that section. Alright, here we go. Table view cell for row at index path. Oh, not this will display table view cell for row at will display cell for row index path. Here we go. So let's implement this guy. Number 1, let cell to be table view dot the key reusable cell with identifier like this, and then I'm going to use the key reusable cell with for index path. So we need an identifier. So let's make that as the tweet cell. Right? So we need the identifier here. Let's go into main storyboard. We change the identifier of this cell into the tweet cell, just like this. And then go back to the tweets table view controller. The index path, we put that index path in. Cool. And now, just for now, let's have the tweet. So let tweet to be tweet at index path dot section, and then at index path dot row, because we have an array of tweets, right? So here, let's do something like cell dot title or text label. Yeah, text label dot text to be the tweet dot something like let's say tweets.text, just so that we can test it out, and then we'll return the cell. Right? We have a bunch of these things. Now let's run the app and see how it looks like. And now this thing has a lot more UI elements in that, but I want to test it out and make sure that it works. So here we go. You see that? We have a bunch of tweets over here for my handle name. Cool. You see this? So there are my tweets over here, and there are some other people is tweeting me. Awesome. Good job so far. We create the UI for our app. We download some tweets by some search text, and then we implement the UI table view data source. Now let's create a custom class for our cell. Because if you look at the cell here, it has the profile image, the name of the user, the handle, the date posted, and it has the body of the tweet, the images, the buttons. That requires us to create some cells, some custom UI table view cell. Let's do it now. Inside your views group, I'm going to right click and have a new file. This is a script file, and let's name this guy tweet table view cell and create that file. Here we go. Let's import UI kit right off the back, and then let's have the class is tweet table view. Tweet table view cell with the name is UI table view cell like this. Right? Tweet table view cell and UI table view cell. So inside here, we don't need any of the code here. We just need a bunch of IB outlet and IB actions. So I'm going to hold the Option key, click into the main storyboard, and you will see that we have the tweet cells over here. So let's open up like this, and I'm going click into the cell, change the custom class into tweet tail view cell. Right now, let's drag out a bunch of IB outlet and action. The first one is the profile image view. Cool. Let's make some room. Here we go. Next one is our profile over here. So let's have that the full name label. Gosh, it doesn't allow us. Check that thing over here, full name label. And then this handle. So drag that thing over here, the handle and handle label. Or you know what? Let's have the handle and created at label like this. So we'll make sure that this thing is just like the same. So I'm going to double click here, cut this text like that, and I'm going to delete this to our. So what happened is I will make this the same. You see this? I'll make this the same label. Like that. Cool. Okay. Next up, let's have the body text. So drag this thing to the screen, and let's have this outlet to be the tweet text label. Like that. Let's make some. Delete this thing. Delete that. Delete this. Awesome. Over here, let's have the tweet image view. So this image view, drag this to the screen and tweet image view. Okay. Now, lastly, these three buttons. So the first button we have is the reply button. Create that. Second one, the retweet button. So retweet button. And finally, our like button. So like button. Like that. Cool. So everything is set up. That's that. Let's open up the standard editor so that we can have some space to work on. So inside here, let's implement this tweet tail view controller. Tweet tail view cell, I'm sorry. Number one, what is the public API? Meaning that what is the data model? Well, we can have var a tweet, right? So this is a tweet. Now, in order to have this, we need to import the old Twitter framework. So tweet here. And now, by the way, if you don't have the Twitter, it means that you haven't downloaded the the starter project. So that's all. Download the starter project, and you'll see that. So tweet here, and let's make that optional because it can be nil. So whenever someone did set this guy, I'm going to update the UI. Something like this and this. See? Now this thing, it is just like a fancy ways of doing this. Okay, you see that? It's just a fancy way that you can do it on one line. That's all. Because we all have the update UI. So here, let's have the private func called update UI. Like this. Update UI. So inside this updates UI, let's put out some information for the tweet. So tweet text label dot text to be the tweet dot text. Full name label dot text to be. I'm going a little fast here because it's just some property that you can explore in your tweet struct. So we have the text, user, created, all of those things. It should be easy enough for you to see it, right? So inside here, let's have let's create our tweet created at date. So if let's created equals the tweet dot created. Like this, and then we do let the formatter equals to a date formatter, and then if the date dot time interval since not since over here, since our date, since the tweet, since the created over here, like this, and we do dot greater than 24 times 60 times 60. It means that a days ago, right? 1 day ago. Then we do formatter dot date style to be dot short. Else the formatter dot temp style to be dot short. And then let's do let the created text to be the formatter dot string from our created, the date over here, the created of the tweet. Awesome. Now lastly, let's do the handle and created at label dot text to be our string. And this string, it has number one is the tweet dot user dot screen name. The screen name is the handle, and we have the @ sign, so @ like Steve Jobs, @ Tim Cook, as Elon Musk, right? And then we need that dot, so option 8. So we have that dot, and then we have the created text, which is this guy, and I'm using string interpolation over here. Awesome. Else case, let's have an else. We do handle and created at label dot text to be another string, and this string has the handle, so only this handle. So what happen if we don't have this created at, we only have the screen name, and that is required, right? Awesome. Now let's run the app and see how it looks like. Here we go. Should be beautiful. If it's not, then it's your fault. No, it's my fault. Okay, so let's see it. All right. So we have a bunch of things over here. What happens is in the tweet TabBarController, we didn't set our new class. So instead of in here, delete this line, we do as the tweet TabView cell, right? And then we do cell.tweet to be the tweet. Run the app and see how it looks like. Here we go. Beautiful. Alright, I love it. Pretty nice. You see that? Really nice. Love it. Alright, now, but there's a problem though. The problem number one is I want to make sure that we don't be able to select this guy, right? So see this? I don't want to have the select color. So the way that you do that is .selection style to be none. Now, this selection style, it all it means is that we don't show up this grayish selection. Cool? It doesn't mean that you cannot select it. It means that if you just select here, we still be able to call the TabView did select row index path. So now let's run the app. Here we go. Cool. So if we select here, there's no grayish foolish thing. And then the second one is I want to make sure that because from our complete project over here, you see this? The separator, it doesn't have an offset. So this thing has a little 16 pixel offset. So the main start bar, go there, click into the tail view, I believe, and you'll see that the separator over here, let's change the default into separator inset custom. The left here is 0. So now let's run the app. Here we go. Beautiful. Here we go. This is the hard part. I will need to download our images from Twitter, right? Because each of the user has some profile image and some tweet has some image, some tweet doesn't have any image at all. So how can we deal with this stuff? Let's do it in this section of the training. We'll download the profile image first, and then we'll move on and download the tweet image for any tweet that has some image. So let's do it. Alright, There are a few things I want to do before we download our images. Number one is, if you look at our navigation bar of the final project, you see that we have a bluish, let's call that blue, navigation bar. That is the color from our, from the Twitter. So let's do that. I'm going to the app delegate over here, the app delegate, and you see that we already set our UI tab bar appearance, tint color, UI color, all of these things, because inside your starter project I already did that for you. So what we want to do now is we want to have this navigation bar to be blue and then this thing to be white, and maybe you want to have the title of your navigation to be white too. Now here we have a text search bar, so we don't see the title, but what if you have the title? Very much likely you have like in the moments, notification, messages, or me, you have a title, right? So to do that, I'm going to use this little piece of code here. All we did is we set the appearance proxy of the UI navigation bar. We set the bar tint color into this bluish color, and then we set the tint color into white. And we set the bar style to be black so that this status bar could be white. Cool. So now if I run the project, here we go. Let's run that. And you see that we have the title and we have the navigation bar. Pretty nice, right? So that's one thing to take care of. Let's move on and see the complete project. We have the avatar, we have the profile image here. So let's go ahead and download our profile image. I'm going to the tweet table view cell, and here we have a tweet. Whenever this tweet gets set, then we will update the UI, right? So let's download our tweet. Now from the tweet, you can get the profile image URL to be the tweet.user.profileimage URL. And then from this URL, I'm going to create a request, which is a URL request with the URL of our profile image URL. The reason why I'm going to use this URL request is because in your Star project, I already prepared for you a class called network processing. Now, you don't need to, if you already like studied with me for a while now, if you're in some of my programs like Socialize Your Apps or iOS Masters or Total iOS Blueprint, you see me teach this class very often, network processing. All it did is we construct a networking stack that allows us to download data from the internet with just a URL request, which is a URL. And we have download JSON. We'll download data into JSON format, or we download the data. Right? So we download the data into NS data, or actually data typed. So here, let the request here, and let me create a network processor to be network processing, different name. Request is our request. Now from this request, let's count, from the network processor, let's count download data, press enter, and we have a closure. This closure contains some arguments. Number one is the data. Guess what is that data? Yeah, the image data. And then we have a HTTP response. You can check the status code and all of those stuff, and we have an error. Now here, you can check all of those stuff, but I'm going to just do some very simple thing, is that I'm going to check if we do get the image data. If we do get the image data, then I'm going to call self.profileImageView.image to be UI image with the data of our image data. Right? See that? Cool. Now there's two problems with this though. There's two problems with this. What is the problem? Can you guess? Can you guess what is the problem? Number one is the self Yeah, this self strongly point to the closure to this table view cell, right? That's why we have to make this a weak self. Make sense? And here it's going to be self question mark. Number two problem is this code over here is UI code, but then this thing is off the main queue. This closure is off the main queue, so we have to dispatch dispatch queue dot main dot async, and we have the code. We will cut this code over here, and boom, we have the main queue. Makes sense? Alright, now let's run the app and see how it looks like. I'm going to run the app. Here we go, and boom, you see this? We have the see that? We have the profile image. Pretty nice. Alright. Now, what if we don't have the profile image? Then in the else case here, I'm going to do the profile image dot image to be nil. To be nil and question mark here, right? Make sense? Awesome. So that is the profile image. But before we move on, I want to make sure that we have this profile image to be rounded corner, because if you look at this thing, it is rounded corner. So a very convenient way that we can do this is I'm going to make a private extension of the UI view. Now, UI view is the superclass of UI image view, or anything that's like drawing on the screen is a subclass of UI view, right? So here I'm going to have a function called rounded corners like this, and all it did here is it will apply the layered corner radius into the self, and then we do this layer mask to bounds to be true. And because it is an extension of UI view, it means that I can call the self.profileImageView.rounded corners like this, and it will automatically call this method, and it will make this profile image to be rounded. Now there's two questions though. Why do we want to use an extension? The extension allows us in Swift to add other functionalities and other properties into a type that you don't need to have access to the implementation of that type, of that class, or that struct, or that enum. Cool? Question number two, why do we want to use the private over here? The private over here marks that this extension is only accessible inside this tweet table view cell.swift. That's why outside of this class, no one else will be able to call the rounded corners. And in some cases, that may be not what we want. But in this case, that may be true, because we don't want anyone else to somehow call the rounded corners without knowing that this rounded corner is inside this, right? It is not a built-in, is not a native UI view method. So that's why we don't want everyone to be able to access that. Make sense? So now let's run the app and see how it looks like. Okay, looking good. Beautiful. All right, now last thing. Let's download our tweet image. So before I actually show you how to do that, it's pretty much the same. Can you try? Can you give it like 5 minutes? Try to do it on your own, and then come back with me. Do it together with me. All right. So give it 5 minutes. Go. All right. Did you do it? Here we go. This is how I'm going to do this. Let me make sure that we're still in the update UI. Here we go. So I'm going to, if let's get the media item. Now this requires you to read the tweet API a little bit, so I hope that you already did that. We get the media item from the tweet is tweet.media. If the tweet does get the media, because sometimes the tweet doesn't have an image. So, and then we had the if let media URL to be the media item first URL, because this media item may have multiple images, and then let's get a request. Let the request to be URL request with the URL of our media URL. And again, we do the network processor to be our network processing with the request of request. Now, a question may rise up is, hey, why do you have two instances of network processors? The answer is because we have different requests. That's why, right? So here, network processor dot download data and the completion image data, the response and the error, right? And then we do if let the image data to be image data. Then we do self.tweet image view. Self.tweet image. Oh, do I get the tweet image view? Yeah, tweet image view. Oh, here, the self, we need to do the wick self. And then we self.tweet image view.image to be a UI image with the data of image data. Awesome. Then self.tweet image view dot rounded corners, so now we have the rounded corners immediately, right? Cool. All right. Now, what if we don't get any media? Then we just do one. We just do tweet image view dot image to be nil. And what if this media doesn't have a URL because there's some errors, right? So yeah, we also make that thing, the tweet image view, to be nil. Awesome. Now let me run the project and see how it looks like. There will be some problem, but we'll find out about it, right? So let's see. Here we go. This thing doesn't have any images, so let me try and search for something new. There's something that may, because this search text is pretty much doesn't have my name. I don't use Twitter that much. That's why I don't have anything. So let me try and find something like interior design. Interior design. Let's run it, because interior design pretty much like maybe people will put in something here, right? Some images. Okay, so yeah, here we go. We have the image. Wow, that's a beautiful house. Wow, that's a beautiful house. And you see, we have a bunch of we don't have any other image. Let me see. Okay. Now, there's some problem with this, as you can well see, is that two cells, right? This cell and this cell. This cell has an image, that's why it is like smaller. But this cell, it doesn't have an image. Why does it have to be like this tall, right? Why does it have to be that tall? Let me see what if we have anything over here. So the main thread, okay. This application is modifying the auto layout engine from a background thread after the engine was accessed from the main thread. This can lead to engine corruption and weird crashes. Now, why is it? Well, because if you look at the tweet table view cell, and what we just did over here inside the closure is pretty much we changed the data inside. We changed the tweet image view UI code, right? Of the main thread. So what's that? Dispatch queue dot main dot async, and we move our code here over here and run the app once again and see how it looks like. Okay, I know that it's a little bit fast. So all I did is I have this moved. Oh, by the way, did you see that the problem is that there's a bunch of images, right? There's a bunch of images over here. But before, because we did our queue over here wrong, so that's why we don't have those images. Right? See, we have a lot of images, but before we don't have all of these images. Now this is a huge challenge. Not that I'm challenging you, but this is a huge challenge for us to deal with this situation. Is that there are some cells, some tweets that have some image. Some tweets doesn't have an image at all. How can we deal with this stuff? Because now when we have the tail view set up, if the tweet doesn't have an image, it's still that tall. How can we deal with this? That is what we're talking about in this section. We'll talk about how to create the tweet tail view cell height so that it would dynamically resize the height. And there are two solutions to this. Number one, we can create two prototype cells. All of these things are the same, but one prototype cell will have the image, one doesn't have one image. Now that may be good because it's easy to do, but that is kind of like repetitive, right? Repetitive because sometimes like we can have two subclasses. We need to have maybe not two subclasses, but it's just like we need to have two prototype cells with the same UI. It means that later on, if we want to change the UI, then we have to change two places at the same time. So another solution is we only have one prototype and we'll use code to programmatically set the height of the cell. Let's do that. So let's fix that problem. This cell doesn't have an image and this cell has the image, but it is pretty much the same height. So let's fix that thing. Step number one, I'm going to do is, if you look at this image, right? We always have the image. We always have this image in the storyboard. And if you look at this image, we can actually set the auto layout constraint for this image. So let me do that. I'm going to hold the control key, drag it up like this, and I'm going to set the height constraint for this image. Now, when we do it this way, it is not that we always set a default height or always set a fixed height for the image, but rather what I want to do is I want to open up the tweet tail view cell on the right hand side on the assistant editor over here, like this, and let me find this tweet image view like this. And what we can actually do is we will have a auto layout constraint. We can have an IB outlet. Let me mark it here. Mark in over here called dynamic cell height for tweet with or without an image. So what we can do is I will create an IB outlet from this constraint over here. You see the height equal 170. So I'm going to right click over here to this guy to create an outlet for this NS layout constraint. So let's call tweet image view height constraint. Tweet image view height constraint. I know this is kind of like a lengthy name, but you can do that anything you like. As long as it makes sense for you. So now what we'll do is I will create a private variable that called default tweet image view height constraint, which is of type CG float, because a constant of an INS constraint, layout constraint, is a CG float. And what we'll do is when this cell gets the image and the image gets set, right, we'll change it. We'll change the this constraint will set automatically, because we changed the image. But what if this image here doesn't have any image? Then if it doesn't have any image, we'll do the default tweet image view height constraint to be the tweet image view height constraint like this, right? From the storyboard, not constant. So that will save the default tweet image view height. And then we'll turn off this height constraint. So we will delete, pretty much the image is still there, but we'll make the height constraint of the image to be 0. So what we do is tweet image view height constraint dot constant to be 0. And then I'm going to call layout if needed. You see this? So this will help us to prepare for the case that there is no image. If there is an image, it will set over here, and this thing will get set, and the layout will work itself out. But what if there's no image? If there is no image, step number one is we will save the default height constraint, constant of the height constraint, so that later on when this cell gets reused, remember, because this is a tail view or you use a collection view, the cell will get reused. That's why we are going to we'll save this constant. And then we make the constant to be 0 because we don't have an image, and we call layout if needed so that the cell will lay out all of its subviews. It makes sense, right? I hope it makes sense. If it doesn't, please rewatch the last 5 minutes. Now, when this cell gets prepared for reuse, we call the super.prepare for reuse, and then I'm going to check if the tweet image view height constraint is not nil and the default tweet image height constraint is not nil, because there's some cases that this prepare for reuse is called before the storyboard instantiate those elements. Right? So here we do tweet image view height constraint, tweet image view height constraint dot constant to be the default tweet image view height constraint. Why is it? When this cell gets reused, we will reset everything, so it will becomes the stage that you see on the storyboard, right? So if it doesn't have an image, it will set it with this layout. But if it doesn't have an image, it will set it like this. You see that? Okay. Now we also need to do that in this tweet image view, like this. Okay, I know this is maybe like duplicate code. We can factor that out, but it has like 3 lines. So yeah, you can do that. Cool. So now what we can do is run the project and see how it looks like. I hope that it works, but let's just see. Okay, let's just see and see how it looks like. Here we go. So here we go. Gosh. So it looks cool over here, but look at this one. It sucks, right? It scaled up our buttons, and we don't want that. But now there's a good thing. A good thing is that there's no image over here, because that's why it scaled up, because these the stack view over here, the stack view of the buttons, it will take the rest of the layout, I'm sorry, the rest of the space of the cell. So this problem is very easy to fix. Why is it? It's just because this tail view, it doesn't have any information that this cells wants to be automatically or to be dynamic height. So what we can do is in the view load of the tweet tail view controller, I'm going to count tail view dot estimated row height to be the tail view dot row height. So it will say to the tail view, hey, this is your estimated row height. It will be pretty much the same row height from the storyboard. So I just want to give you a clue that the height of your row could be pretty much like this. But then, hey, tail view, your row height is actually, I want you to automatically change the dimension of the height. So resize the height of the cell according to what I tell you in auto layout constraint. You see that it comes into a full circle now, right? So we have a height in storyboard. We set all of the elements inside the storyboard, and then we apply auto layout constraints into those elements. And then we tell the tail view that, hey, this is an estimation of your height, but actually I want you to resize the height of the row according to what I tell auto layout in the storyboard. Or if you do that in code, it will pretty much the same. It makes sense, right? Okay, so now let's run the app and see how it looks like. Alright! Oh wow, it looks so good. Yeah, we have this thing, looks nice. And these guy, gosh, why is it? Yeah, people tweet so much. And we have this, see this thing? Yeah, we have the image and it's resized the height of the cell. It looks nice. Yeah, beautiful, beautiful. Awesome. All right, lastly, our search bar. So you notice that we have a search bar over here. We have the search text over here, right? We can search for a new thing. So now if I search for Oprah, and boom, see we have the new tweet that has some information about Oprah showing up. So that, let's talk about the search bar. We put up the search bar programmatically in the tweet table view controller. Let's do it now. As I tell you in the beginning of the training that we are going to do the search bar programmatically. So inside your tweet table view controller, above here, I'm going to have a search controller of typed UI search controller like this. UI search controller, right? So this is UI search controller. Inside the view load. Inside view load, where's the view load? Here we go. Inside video load, I'm going to code. Let's set the search text by default to be the interior design, something like this. And then let's go to the method called setup search controller like that. And inside the setup func and private func setup search controller. Inside the setup search controller, let's instantiate a search controller to be UI search controller with the search result controller to be nil, like this. And then I'm going to call search controller. We'll set up the search controller that hides navigation bar during presentation to be false, so that we'll always keep that navigation bar. Next, let's search controller. I want to dim the background during presentation to be true, so that I don't think I will have the complete project here, but let me show you in the complete project. Here we go. So when we search that, you see, here we go. See that it will dim out, it will gray out the background of the whole screen. So we have that, and then search control. Let's do navigation item. Navigation item dot title view. It has the title view. So this is the title label, right? Now that is a title view. We can replace that title view with the search controller, and the view of the search controller is a search bar. And I'm going to call defined presentation context to be true. So let's run the app and say, where's that? Okay, this is just like this. Run the app and see how it looks like. Here we go. Run it. Boom. We have the search bar, and if I click into this, I don't think you will see it. Maybe you don't see that clearly, but here I can see that it will dim out like that. Pretty nice, huh? Okay, and if you don't see the keyboard, you just have to hold the control key, click K. Oh, I'm sorry, Command K? Yeah, Command K. And you can typing in something like this, click search, and it will search out, it will go close out the thing. Cool. All right, now let me set the search controller dot search bar dot delegate to be ourself, because I want to make sure that we will let's create an extension over here, so that the extension of tweet table view controller will conform to UI search bar delegate. Now this extension is just that a kind of like a way or a habit that whenever I implement a new protocol or a new delegate method, I'm going to put that into a different extension of the class, so that it will separate out our code. So here I'm going to a mark of search bar delegate like this, and then inside this extension, let's do search bar should begin editing. So whenever the search bar starting to edit, we're going to check if the search bar is actually that search controller dot search bar. if this search bar is actually our search controller search bar, then I'm going to count the search bar dot placeholder to be a text count search Twitter like this, and will return true. So what happens is right now the placeholder is search, right? But then if I click into this, it's still search. You see that? So what we want to do is when I click to that, it's still search Twitter. Here we go. So now it is search. Clicking to this is search Twitter. But I actually want to be by default like this. The search controller, search controller dot search bar dot placeholder. Oops. By default, placeholder to be search Twitter too. You see that? So now let's run the app. So inside your setup search controller, we set the search bar dot placeholder dot search controller to be that. You see that? Search Twitter. Click here, and we still have that thing. Awesome. Next up, let's do the search button, click. So whenever we click on over here, typing in some text, we have the search. This method will get called. See that? So if the search bar equals to the search controller dot search bar, so that we make sure that it is that search bar, just in case, just be a safe programmer. And then we change the search text to be our search bar dot text. And we count the search controller, because now if I click over here, right, I click search, and it pops down the keyboard, but it still be like this thing. It is still active. So I want to do the search bar dot is active to be, search bar is active, right, equals to false. Oh, I'm sorry. Apology. This is search controller is active is false. So now if I run it, run the project. Come on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, run. Here we go. And if let's say it's search some text here, search, and it goes down over here. You see that? All right. So two things that we want to do. Number one is whenever I typing in some search text here, click search, and this thing becomes back into search Twitter. You see that? It becomes back to search Twitter, but I actually want it to be still that text UTT, still that UTT, so that the user knows that they are searching for that thing, right? So how can we do that? Well, as we just set our search text, the self that search text, to be the search bar that text. Inside our search text over here, inside the search text string, we can actually set our stuff. So before we remove all of those stuff, let me do search controller dot search bar dot text to be the search text. Now why do we need to be optional chaining here? Why do we need to optional chaining here? Yeah, I'm asking you. Why do we need optional chaining here? Why do we just do it like this? Because it's actually, we can do that because the search controller here is not an optional. It is an implicitly ungrabbed optional. Why do we need optional chaining here? Yeah, because this search text, the first time it get the set is in the view that load before we ever get a search controller. That's why if we call it immediately, it will crash because this search controller is nil, right? It's nil. Then let's do search controller dot search bar dot placeholder to be the search text too. So search text like this. And now if I run the project, let's see how it looks like. And we actually will search the tweet immediately when the search text is set. You see that? So whenever this search text is set, it will do all these things and it will search for tweets with a new text. So here, let me call something like Duc Tran. I don't know if there's anything over here. You see this? Okay. We have a bunch of things over here. Let's see. How about Opera? Search. And boom! Beautiful image over here. Awesome. Alright, my friend. That is how you create the Twitter app using Twitter API. Now, I hope that you enjoyed this episode. I hope that you enjoyed this training as much as I enjoy creating it for you. If you do, can you do me 2 favors? Number one, can you subscribe to this channel so that I can continue to deliver free trainings video tutorials for you every single week? And number two, what I would love to give you is this new training that I have here. It's called How to Build Nike E-commerce Retail Store Without Losing Your Shirt. Now, most people think that it would take personally, I used to think that it would take hundreds of people, thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars only to put up just an MVP of an app like this. And in fact, if you do some searches, most people invest like $50,000, $100,000 just to create the minimum viable product for a retail app like this. What I would love to do for you is I want to give you the basic guidelines of how to do this, and we'll implement part of that training in my new training called How to Build the Nike E-commerce Store Without Losing Your Shirt. So if you love to have this training, all you have to do is go into a link in the description, click there, enter your name and email so that I can send you this training all for free. How to do the Nike e-commerce store. So go there, click the link on this page, download that training, and I see you in the training. Until then, my friend, go out there every single day of your life, learn new things, craft your ideas, and contribute to the world.